We've got a great interview for you guys today. Legendary movie director Oliver Stone is with us. Of course, you know him from movies like Platoon, Wall Street, Born on the 4th of July, JFK, Natural Born Killers, Nixon, Any Given Sunday, and the list goes on and on. But did you know that not only did he direct those movies, but he also wrote Midnight Express, Conan the Barbarian? I didn't know that. Scarface, I didn't know that. You wrote Scarface?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. And then, of course, also produced movies like Joy Luck Club, The People vs. Larry Flint, which I loved, along with so many of these other movies. He's now the author of and director of The Untold History of the United States. Okay. And it is told here, along with Peter Kuznick. And it's also a series on Showtime. It is a multi-part series. In fact, let's show everybody a piece of that so they get a sense of what it's like.
And I wanted, with my colleagues, rather than make another feature film, to tell the American story in a way that has never been told before. This film is designed to enhance democratic values and institutions in our country, to encourage real free debate. There have been some profound mistakes, but we still have a chance, I strongly believe, to correct them. And that is why we have made this series. I've been on this series for 4 years with Peter. We started the film first, idealistically about one man, it was Henry Wallace, and how the atomic bomb got started. And we got more and more involved, and it turned into a 4.5-year monster, almost 5 years now. And we started writing the book as a companion series, but look what happened to the book, it became enormous.
What's amazing part of this story, not just the Showtime story, not just the book, but our real untold history in the United States, is how much the spectrum has shifted to the right. Not in terms of where the people stand. You know, poll after poll says, love Social Security, love Medicare, want to increase tax on the rich, etc. But Washington keeps going further and further right wing. Why do you think that is?
Money, Wall Street, the bond market, militarization of American society with the military-industrial complex. It's an old story, and unfortunately a sad one, because right after World War II, when the Republican Congress comes back in '46, they're vehemently against Roosevelt. And I grew up under my father was a Republican, so I felt the hatred, the passion against Roosevelt, because he had changed the game, the rules of the game, and he brought regulation in, he brought a stronger government in, and he was supposed to play by the fair rules. Roosevelt himself came from a rich family, but he thought he was a traitor to his class.
So now when we get up to the present day, you know, if you watch TV in the current day media, Obama is a wild-eyed liberal, socialist, Maoist, Fox News calls him, etc., right?
Yeah.
What's your view on him? Is he a real progressive?
No. No, I think right now Obama is a manager of a wounded empire, and he's committed himself with his cabinet to maintain the empire, and not only maintain it, I'd go further. I think that behind the scenes he's been very effective to keep us very strong militarily. He's looked, essentially the Pentagon is achieving, put it this way, and by 2020 would have achieved full spectrum dominance over the entire Earth. But essentially the world, see, whenever a country achieves dominance, priority, as we did with the atomic bomb, and that's what gave us the right to do what we did. We had the monopoly on the weapon for what, 3 years, 3.5 years. But the history proves, every empire proves that you never have dominance of a weapon for very long.
Now, one thing I didn't know until I was doing research before you came on about your career, and I want to talk about it, is that you did go to Vietnam. You know, I've never been in a war, and so it's such a foreign perspective for me. Do you know that you killed people? I mean, do you fire and you know, okay, I killed that guy, I killed that guy, or is...
You know some of it. You know, I mean, obviously what Americans do in war and what modern warfare is a lot of firepower. It's very dangerous because you get about I would estimate 15 to 20% of our casualties in Vietnam were from friendly fire. That's to say the guy behind you, it could be the guy behind you, it could be artillery comes in on you, airplanes drop bombs on you. There's a lot of that goes on. But essentially it's confusing, and we put out a lot of firepower, too much. So it does distort our view of war. In 1960, late 68, I got out. And I had some friends who said, you can go to school now, you can go to college, get the GI Bill, which is pays for the education. and learn movie making. And I said, well, that's crazy. To go to the college and go to the movies, it sounded like fun. So I drifted into NYU. I was a bit of a drifter, and I was older than the other students, but I enjoyed it. And Marty Scorsese was one of my first teachers there, so I was lucky.
Well,
to
that's
have
a good break.
A very energetic young professor.
Last question here. Of all the different works, and I don't know if you get this question often, but is there one particular movie or project you worked on and you thought, boy, that was the moment I'm most proud of?
No, my life was a progress, a pilgrim's progress. No, I learned a lot from movies because I was, as I said, I think I was asleep for a lot of my life, because of my background, my conditioning. And I think through each movie I learned more and more and more. And by doing these political movies like Nixon or W, and certainly JFK, as well as Salvador, by traveling to Central America and hanging out with the people who were actually getting killed by these death squads. And Reagan had a lot to do with reigniting the right wing in South America and Central America. That over the course of that time, I just said, I've learned more than I've ever known before, and I just have to leave something behind. So that was the motivation to do this thing, which is a beast. I mean, this is almost like pro bono work, but it's good work because my daughter and my two sons did not get any better history education than I got. I looked at her textbook. The atomic bomb, the fallacies are still there.
People can feel it when they're being lied to, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And cleaned up and propagandized, et cetera. And I think if they knew the real stories and the complexities of it and the nuance of it and the drama of it, I think they would be much more interested. So the book is called The Untold History of the United States, and it is also a series on Showtime. And so Oliver Stone, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jen, for giving me this time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.